Cheers. I was 50 pounds heavier than I am right now. I always felt tired. I never exercised ever. Maybe I got 1,000 steps a day, and I never stepped foot in the gym. I would place a delivery order for Monday morning, and I would eat 6 or 12 cookies throughout the week.
They're like diabetes bombs.
They are. You need to maintain your muscle while you're on a GLP-1 because no one is over muscle on a GLP-1.
You can't outrun a bad diet.
Absolutely. I love that. I would say change requires change. You are only one meal away from getting back on track. You need to focus on making slow, incremental changes to your life as time goes on.
Every year, Americans spend about $1.4 trillion on food. If you want to know where that $1.5 trillion is moving, talk to the people filling their shopping carts. My guest today has a growing influence over nearly 2 million shopping carts, sparking a dialogue about how to make healthier food choices with his account, Health with Hunter. Welcome to the RTW podcast, where we aim to keep our audience healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm your host, Stephanie Sirota, partner and chief business officer at RTW Investments. Today, we're speaking with an influencer, content creator, and brand ambassador with nearly 2 million followers across social platforms, Hunter Stoller. Hunter, thank you so much for joining us.
That was an amazing intro. Thank you for having me.
So take me back to the before version of you at Michigan. What was the day or the moment that flipped the switch? Not the plan, but what was the feeling?
Yeah, so I was always having stomach issues. I had cystic acne and I always felt fatigued and I didn't know what was wrong. I thought that was sort of my normal and the way that I was supposed to be living for the rest of my life. And it wasn't until one day over Thanksgiving in 2019 when I was home and my mom and sister quietly nudged me at the table with 15 of our family members and was like, "Hunter, look at your plate." Keep in mind, I was 50 pounds heavier than I am right now. I always felt tired. I never exercised ever. Maybe I got 1,000 steps a day and I never stepped foot in the gym. And I just had a wake up call one day, like a flip switched in my head. And it made me realize that I really need to do something to take control of my health because change requires change. And I realized that it was possible then. And it led into me falling in love with health and realizing that I really am in control of how I should feel every day. I majored in information science, not really computer science, but where data and technology intersects with people and society and business. That was my major. I had no knowledge on nutrition, and we don't learn that in college unless we're going to school to become a registered dietitian or a nutritionist. So that's what eventually led me to becoming a certified health coach through an online program. And that's where I learned so much, along with my own weight loss journey as well. And that's what led me to create my accounts and start helping and inspiring others.
That's great. So you lost 50 pounds, but what's even more important is you kept it off.
Yeah.
What is the most boring and least sexy thing that made it stick?
So I will say it's all about the boring, simple stuff. So many people think there's a weight loss hack. There's a trick that helps you melt the fat away. It's not. It's about sustainable and consistent change day after day. Eating simple, boring meals, having your workout routine, and also realizing that diet is responsible for 90% of weight loss. People think exercise is the key. What's the perfect exercise routine? My hot take is that any form of strength training where you're, working on building muscle, forming tiny tears in your muscles, which helps you build more lean muscle mass, it's so important. But our diet controls our overall weight and how we feel.
You can't outrun a bad diet.
Absolutely. I love that.
So through the process, how did your own consumer habits change? What did you spot in your own consumption behavior? Not just what was on your plate, but how did you shop for food and how did you avoid temptation when you were in college? What was your consumer behavior like and how did you change that?
So that's a great question. Every single week, I would drink alcohol on a Friday, sometimes even a Saturday, and then on Sunday morning, I would Instacart Whole Foods or Target or any grocery store, and I would say, this is the week I'm going to start fresh. I know what I should be eating, so I would pay $100 to $150 for a full fridge that I shared with 5 roommates at the time, and I would also be lazy and I didn't know how to cook, so I would be ordering Uber Eats and DoorDash unhealthy food while I have my fresh food basically rotting away and expiring in the fridge. So not only was I paying pretty much double than what I should have been paying, but I didn't even know how to cook. And I'm not the best chef right now, trust me, but I know how to cook the basics and I know how to build balanced meals on or off the stove. And something that's really important to me is I am spending so much less money because I know what I should be buying in order to succeed. That's what when I was doing health coaching, that's what I helped inspire my clients and also my Instagram and TikTok and social media followers to learn how to shop because it is so important to have high quality, nutrient dense foods in your fridge because when you compare that to going out to eat, whether it's at a Chick-fil-A or McDonald's, which people love to say is cheap. However, the prices are not cheap because it could be up to $20 for a meal per person. And if you have a family of five, that could very easily add up. Or I help people dine out where they're not feeling like they are restricting and they're not overindulging. They have that healthy balance. So there is so much less stress and anxiety and fear around food and also shopping at the grocery store for me, for everyone who I'm helping inspire, and also my family members, my friends, because it is so important. The fundamentals of food, making sure you have your proteins, your fibers, your healthy fats, and also your fiber filled carbohydrates.
Is there anything that you are afraid of? I mean, there's a lot of people that say no carbs.
So,
Sounds like you
no.
say there's a place for everything.
There is. I mean, I hate some foods. Like, I hate mayo with a passion, so I will never eat it. I would never eat a hard boiled egg. I can't eat tuna or chicken salad. I also don't like any fish besides cooked shrimp. It sucks. I wish I did. People always ask me, is it a health reason or is it just a taste? I'm like, it's total preference because I hate the taste and the smell of most fish.
Not even smoked salmon
Oh my God, no.
on a bagel?
No, I can't do it. I can't. My family's obsessed, but I can't. And I'm not fearful of any foods unless the foods that I truly do not like. Like I hate mustard. I have those weird aversions, but no food is off limits. But when you get into the chemicals and the additives and the dyes that are added to our foods, that's when I draw the line.
So, someone with your academic background, information science, is actually kind of the perfect discipline to apply to nutrition, even though you're right. Like, people would have to go to a functional school to learn about nutrition and study
Yeah.
that. But, you know, you married the two, and now you're an influencer, a content creator, a brand
Yeah.
ambassador. Why did you choose this path of, you know, influencing instead of maybe going down the traditional path of being a nutritionist and a
Absolutely.
coach?
So I honestly didn't intend for this at all. I was in college in my apartment, junior and senior year. I was in the same apartment. And a lot of my friends and also other people, friends of friends, were asking me how I lost my weight. And I thought the best way to do this would just be to have a private Instagram account where I could post pictures of my meals, my plates, my bowls, whatever I was eating, a smoothie. Then I took my account off private. I went public. It wasn't called Health with Hunter at the time. I don't even remember what it was called. And I started tagging the brands that I was using. Oh, I'm using this protein powder. Oh, I'm using this peanut butter. I'm using this almond milk, whatever it was. And those brands would slowly start to repost my content. And that's where strangers started to follow me. And it was a little uncomfortable at first because I always used to be a very shy person, believe it or not. And it truly took away my fear. And now I feel like I could speak in front of 2 trillion people. And that is another amazing side effect and benefit that has come from pretty much posting my life and health and wellness content online because now I have no fear or shame filming in a grocery store in public. Whereas 6 years ago, it's crazy to think that I've been posting for 5 years, but 6 years ago, I never would have ever done that.
You were pretty early
I
in
guess
the
so.
rise
I
of
mean, yeah, and
influence
it's
and
been very
content creation.
consistent. And that's the other thing. I get asked a lot about social media tips. And one of my biggest things is I am very authentic. I never lie. And I only share products that I truly love and use or eat or drink, whatever the case is. And also, I'm very consistent with my posting.
And you do your own posting. Is that
I do
right?
all my own posting on Instagram and TikTok. Correct.
Okay, so over a third of Americans are fighting obesity. When you hear that number, it's a pretty big number. Do you think this is a willpower problem? Is this a societal problem? Is it an environment problem? Is it the food that we have access to problem? What is
It's a great
this?
question. So I actually posted today and I posted my story with crumble cookies. You know crumble.
Of course,
Who doesn't?
my sons
So
are teenagers and they like crumble?
Exactly. So my story with Crumble, very long story short, I literally posted it and filmed it this morning for social media. I was so addicted to Crumble. Every Sunday night, I used to be in college, I would wait until they dropped their weekly menu and I would place a delivery order for Monday morning and I would eat 6 or 12 cookies throughout the week. And these are cookies that have over 100 grams of sugar and over 1,000 calories per
They're like
cookie.
diabetes
They
bombs.
are, it's pure refined sugar. It's crap. And artificial dyes and all the junk. So I think there's a point where people could literally be addicted to sugar and they just want more sugar after more sugar, like I was. And I didn't even realize it was a problem. I thought I was treating myself. You know, I would buy healthy groceries Sunday morning, and as a reward, even though I wasn't even using those groceries, I would be ordering crumble cookies for delivery. So talk about spending money. And I also think the environment that you're raised in, if your parents tend to be more overweight and not caring about health and wellness, it definitely could promote more obesity in their children. If your parents are buying fruit roll ups and Oreos and Coca Cola for the house, what are the kids going to be consuming, eating, and drinking? If the parents aren't exercising, are the kids going to just randomly start walking around outside in their neighborhood? Absolutely not. You are a result of how your parents raise you when it comes to health and wellness. And I think that that is something I've realized with my own clients, my own followers who DM me and act like I am their best friend, which I appreciate. But I love giving them advice because I'm very honored that they rely on me for those types of questions where they might be in an uncomfortable situation with their roommates, their friends, or even their families, and helping them learn how to eat if their parents aren't, you know, teaching them from day one, which a lot of parents unfortunately aren't.
Okay, you're a smart shopper. Let's talk about better choices. When a company starts using words like clean, natural, or better for you, can you tell whether that comes from like true product conviction or is it
Absolutely.
like a marketing ploy?
So what I tell everyone is we need to not look at the front of the box or the label. We have to turn it around and look at the ingredients because that is what matters. People could put all natural, gluten-free, sugar-free, but what truly is in it? If it's sugar-free, does that mean that it has 10 grams of artificial sweeteners that are going to wreck our gut health and leave us feeling filled with stomach pains for the rest of the day and week? Probably no. If a product says all natural, does that mean that it can't have crappy ingredients and fillers and additives? No, which is why it is so important to look at the ingredients in every single product. And another thing I'll say, if there's a brand that's familiar to you, whether it's a cereal brand or granola, for example, these brands could be tricky and they could change their ingredients from time to time, which is very upsetting.
So even if you trust something, trust a brand, always stay on top of
100%.
what they're doing. So 5 years ago, Better for You lived at Erewhon.
Yeah.
And now it's Target and Costco.
It's honestly amazing seeing so many traditional grocery stores or wholesale shops like BJ's or Costco or a Sam's Club have and start carrying better for you products in all categories, from chips and popcorn to chicken nuggets that are now seed oil free and made with awesome ingredients to things like grass fed meats. And these, like you were saying, used to be very restrictive and they used to only exist at the luxury grocery stores like an Erewhon and sometimes Whole Foods. And yeah, Whole Foods might be accessible around the country, but some people didn't have the funds and don't have the funds to shop there, along with Erewhon, of course. If you have the option to shop at Erewhon, that's fantastic, but a lot of people don't. And that's where these Targets and Costco's and Aldi's are really making such an amazing play. I've spoken with some of the team at Target and they have such a big emphasis on becoming a healthier grocery store. In October of last year, 2025, I started an Instagram series randomly, just because I was in a Target on Long Island and I was like, Target's becoming the new Whole Foods. And that's because I didn't realize how many better for you products, from the fridge and freezer to the dry grocery section to even skincare, that Target is carrying. And it's incredible because products that only used to be able to be bought online are now available in stores all around the country and on Target's website, which makes it very accessible. So when it comes to specific categories, I think that these companies and these category buyers are really waking up to what consumers want. And there's such a stronger demand now for better for you products across every single aisle at the grocery store.
we met at a Target.
Yes,
I
we
thought you
did.
were doing a Target walkthrough in my local Target, so I
Yeah.
was excited to see you. I was already a follower at that point, and then I just, accosted you. Now, I'm sure you probably engage with a lot of your followers who may be on the GLPs.
Hmm.
Do you think that the emergence and as GLPs get more widespread, what effect have you noticed on people and their buying habits?
Yeah.
And do you think that that has also kind of, changed and woken up stores like Target or Aldi to say, we should actually refine our shopping list and offer better for you products?
So there's a lot that I could say on this category and topic, and there's so many different ways that I could go about this. One thing relating to a Target, for example, and GLP is I have seen recently, especially with frozen meals, so many at Target, at least like 5 to 10 now, and this did not exist 5 months ago. They say on the front, I always say don't read the front. It says GLP-1 friendly or GLP-1 meal or product.
And what does
And
that mean?
that's a
Does it have
fantastic question. There's no
higher
criteria.
fiber or
So you might think that. I believe it might mean that it
lower
has
calorie?
more protein
Okay.
because a lot of people don't know how to portion their meals and how to prioritize protein and fiber when it comes to meal times and grocery shopping when they're on a GLP-1 because you get full a lot quicker. And a lot of people think of that as an excuse to eat whatever they want. But if you're not strength training, you're not getting a cardio in, whether it's walking or cycling or whatever you like to do, you need to be strength training, resistance training in one way or another because you need to maintain your muscle while you're on a GLP-1 because no one is over muscle on a GLP-1. Everyone's over fat and they want to lose fat. But once you start losing muscle, your metabolism is going to get less efficient, it's going to get slower, and it's going to lead to your body being in such a burnout, and you're not going to be able to consume as many calories while maintaining your weight. And it's also very scary because as you get older, over age 30, every decade, we lose a few pounds of muscle a year, naturally. So we need to be working out in the gym, or you could be doing push-ups on your floor in your bathroom or bedroom. It could be free to build muscle, or you could go to a gym, a workout class, whatever it is, whatever you like and whatever fits your budget. But those are the fundamentals to living a healthy life. I always say my motto is health made simple because those are my initials, HMS, but also it's not easy, but it's simple. And when you follow the fundamentals and the traditional aspects of a healthy lifestyle, again, it's simple, there's a formula, but it's definitely not easy to do.
That is so smart. And I am also on a GLP. I've been on one for 10 months and I was lucky. I'm taking Eli Lilly's drug, Zepbound. I have not had side effects.
Amazing.
For me, it cut out the food noise.
Uh-huh.
And so I realized if I'm only going to eat, a certain amount of calories or certain things during the day, I'm going to make those choices and eat, the healthier things for you. And so
I love that. So what positive benefits have you seen?
I mean, I sleep better. I have a ton more energy. And I'm not distracted. I mean, if here in the office, if I walked past and if there was a plate of donuts or something, like I would take it whether I'm hungry or not. Grazing was no issue for me. And now I just wouldn't do it.
Wow.
I can, walk away. I'm not hungry.
And are you exercising?
I do. So I work out with a trainer twice a week and then I try to do other things. So I do
awesome.
intense weight training.
It's very important. And you're eating protein at your meals?
Yes.
A protein source?
I try to.
Okay, great.
At every meal.
Amazing.
Yes. But I don't know that I get enough protein, but
yeah, but it's very
there's a lot of peer pressure to get
I understand.
a lot of protein these days.
People overcomplicate it and they think they need to be getting 200 plus grams a day. But there are formulas that you could use, but as long as you're having some sort of protein in your meals and snacks, like that's all that matters. So I think that's really important, but I mean, you look great, you look healthy, and I don't know what you looked like before the GLP-1, but you feel better inside, and that's really important as well.
Well, we also, we're a biotech investment firm. So, we have a whole team that studies metabolic and, the evidence is there and it's pretty exciting that, GLPs are really kind of the first breakthrough that we have. It is the closest thing that we have to longevity in a pill or shot.
I love it.
But it has multi-organ benefits and you hear a lot of positive and negative in the airwaves, but there's a lot of good. And next gen drugs will be even more exciting because they'll
Amazing.
have fewer side effects and some will be
Yeah.
more targeted as well. Let's double click on the shopping. You're famous for your Target and Costco walkthroughs. Talk me through the psychology of this.
So the psychology is I go in there, I look for products that are new or trending, and I love helping people. And this is my way where I shifted from one-on-one coaching with maybe 10 to 15 clients 2 years ago to helping hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people every single day with grocery shopping. And to me, that's so much more fulfilling. And the testimonials that I get through my DMs and comments and emails, believe it or not, is so incredible and so motivating and inspiring that it makes me just want to keep on going.
You know, that reminds me of when I met Rod Wong, the founder of RTW Investments. In our first interview, he went to med school at Penn and Harvard Business School. And one of the things that we talked about, I said, you know, did you not want to become a doctor? And what pulled you into the path of business and finance? And what he said to me was that he could reach so many more
Yeah.
potential patients and so many more people if he fueled this innovation boom.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that I had the experience of one-on-one coaching, but there also becomes a point where you almost feel like you're a therapist because health and wellness is not just about diet and fitness. There is so much more to it. And I definitely am not equipped to help with that aspect. But what I do feel very confident in and I'm much more capable of is helping people shop.
Okay, a few rapid fire questions.
Let's
Name
do
a
it.
healthy food that's basically candy in a costume.
That's an amazing question. My first thing that I would go to is like most gluten-free foods. Like people think a gluten-free Oreo is healthy because it's gluten-free. That does not mean that it's healthy.
Okay, and then what about, is there a reverse? Is there a junk food that's actually okay?
Let's just say chocolate. I mean, people, my parents and, older generations, they think that chocolate automatically has to be unhealthy, and that is definitely not the case. I mean, there's so many brands out there doing it right with like grass-fed milk and high quality, whether it even has organic unrefined coconut sugar or it has
Date sweetened.
dates. Yeah, exactly. And there's so many ways to make those foods healthier.
Do you have a cheat meal? Or have you kind of wired yourself in this new hunter
Yeah.
versus the old hunter? Do you not think about meals in that way?
So, fantastic question. And my mindset, which I tell people all the time, which has remained true for over 2 to 3 years now, is when I'm in my apartment, everything is healthy. Everything has pretty much perfect ingredients. When I go out to dinner, like I am tonight, I don't know what oil my food is going to be cooked in, unless it's one of the restaurants that I know and I love. But this tonight, I know that they don't use healthy oils. And will I be splitting a burger and some fries and a salad with my friends? Yes. But am I going to go crazy about it? No, because that's my 80-20 balance.
Well, I think something that you said earlier about being exposed to the right kinds of foods in your family, I think as a country we need to also make sure that kids are getting the right nutritious and tasty meals in schools,
Yeah.
not just in the house but at school as well.
And also maybe education at school.
100%. Okay, so you've got 30 seconds and one sentence to change a habit for a stranger. What would you say?
I would say change requires change, and it's very important to realize that you're the only person who is going to motivate you to make any sort of change in your life, whether it's positive or negative. So you are only one meal away from getting back on track. You're only one exercise class or gym session away from getting back on track. And once you have that momentum, remember, you can't rely on motivation because motivation comes and goes, but it's very important that you are working hard towards whatever aspect of your life, whether it's getting a promotion at work or to eat healthy, whatever that circumstance is, to better your body, to get stronger and leaner, that you're not relying on the motivation, because it's in those times when you're not motivated that really make the difference. Focusing on getting 1% better every day and not doing an overhaul of your pantry or, going from 0 to 100 with your diet, that's not sustainable and not possible for 100% of people. And you need to focus on making slow incremental changes to your life as time goes on.
And build that discipline.
And build it up.
So you don't have to
Exactly.
rely on motivation when it's not
and no one
there.
else is going to make you make those changes. You have to truly be the one inside, I know from my own experience, to make those changes. Hiring a coach when you don't even care is not going to automatically lead to positive change.
I love that. change is change, and we have to rely on discipline. I think that's really important in every aspect of life, not just nutrition, but in work, in, our daily routines, because you need something when motivation is not there.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun.